All right, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Whatever time it is when you hear this message, I pray that you're poised to receive, to accept, and to respond to words of wisdom. Ashe. So today belongs to Egbe and to Okun. And so, as such, bright and early this morning, we performed our daily devotion. And in the process, we received a couple of really profound and important lessons from Egbe and Okun. And I'm really excited about sharing these particular lessons because they also coincide with um, a couple of other um, powerful benchmarks in my career and in my life. Most notably, um, today, Egbe told us of things that affirm predictions that I have made oh, 15, 20, 20 years ago. I'm seeing that my predictions coming coming to light with amazing accuracy. And um, I didn't um, I didn't really expect that. There was no way that I could have anticipated that what state of life I'd be in, what my mindset would be like when these predictions came to be. It's just that I saw certain things were inevitable, and um, I knew they were going to happen. Anyway, the real point is that what Egbe gave us today was a lesson on the importance of humility. Egbe gave us a lesson on the not only the importance of being humble, but also being transparent about the limitations of our ability, the limitations of our knowledge, the limitations of our skill. And it is only through that humility that we be able to actually evolve and come into another level of greatness. And in this story, the world has descended into chaos and confusion, all this tumult. And the people of the world are doing everything that they can to solve the problem. They're going this way, they're going that way, they're going to this one, and they're going to the other one. They're calling on the deities. They're doing everything they possibly can. They get a little bit of relief, but then things relapse. They get to make a little bit of progress, and then they regress. They take 2 steps forward, and then they take 3 steps back. They take 5 steps forward, and then they take 3 steps back. It's just this. It's not progressing. It's getting worse. And so finally, they end up having to summon the perfect being, the perfect man, the evolved man. And he comes forward, and finally, with after a lot of reluctance, he says, "Okay, I'm going to give you an assignment. Go do this, gather this herb, and then it's going to solve your problem." Well, people in the world, they go out and they do what they think they should do, and they get maybe a little bit of relief, but shortly thereafter, it ends up, descending back into chaos. So they go through this whole rigmarole again of calling back the perfect being. Help us, help us, help us. He says, "What are you calling me to help you for? I gave you some instructions. Did you do what I told you to do?" He said, "We did. We did it." He said, "Are you sure you did what I asked you to do?" "We did. We did. We did." I'm going to give you one more chance now. Tell me the truth. Reveal your nakedness to me. Did you do what I asked you to do? He said, "Well, not exactly, because you asked us for this herb and we didn't have it. So we got one that we thought would be it or a good substitute for it. And things didn't turn out the way we thought it would turn out." He says, "Now we're making some progress. I know you couldn't have done what I asked you to do because I never gave you that herb. You've never seen that herb. That herb doesn't exist in your environment. So it was impossible for you to do what you said that you did." This is a supreme lesson This is a supreme lesson. You have come to Orisha to grow. You have come to Orisha to evolve. You've tried all the stuff that you thought you could do, and it didn't give you what you needed and what you wanted. This is the challenge for you, though. For you as a person, for us as a community, it means that you have the illusion of experience. You've been in this relationship, you've been in that relationship, you've been in that relationship, and then you was in another relationship. You had this job and you had that job. You worked over here and then you worked over there. You lived in this place, you lived in that place. You drove this car and you drove another car. You wore these kind of clothes and you wore that kind of clothes. And you did this with your hair and you did that with your hair. And in your mind, that constitutes experience. And therefore, you think you know what you're doing. But the part that you're missing is that you don't know what you were actually trying to avoid with all those activities. You weren't trying to accomplish something in particular. You weren't trying to build a specific thing when you were in this relationship or that relationship, when you worked this job, you worked that job, you lived this way. You didn't have a vision in mind. In reality, you were trying to escape something. You were trying to get away from something. You were trying to suppress something. You're trying to compensate for something, an unknown something. So all of the stuff that you acquired as experience ends up being coping mechanisms and obsolete emotional reactions to the challenge of life to grow and to evolve and to become whole. That is really at the core of what you have accumulated. I want you to listen to this lesson multiple times. Okay? I'm going to give you an analogy on how I know this, how I see this. As your elementary school teacher. All right? We're doing art and you love it. We're singing, we're painting, we're drawing, we're dancing, we're coloring. It's fantastic. We get to, you know, reading time and you love the reading and you love to tell the stories and you love to act them out and you love to give your ideas about this, that, and the other. And it's wonderful. But then as we're starting to move into math, now you're having conflict. You're fighting with this one over the pencil. Now you're knocking stuff off the desk. Now you're spilling things. Now you're talking back to me. Now you storming out of class. Okay. On the surface, you got an attitude. Okay. On the surface, that's how we can read it. So and so has an attitude. So and so's in a bad mood. Okay. But after observing you for a couple of weeks, I notice this always happens right as we're going into math. Now that when I look at your math, oh, I can see this person can't count to 10 without using his fingers. I get it. But it goes deeper than that because the fact that you can't count to 10 without using your fingers is not lost on your classmates and they clown you, they diss you, they make fun of you, they ridicule you for not being able to do math. And as a matter of fact, anything that has to do with logic and reasoning, you struggle with it. And they laugh at you and they take advantage of you and they berate you and it makes you feel bad. And it goes deeper than that. Because the same thing happens at home, or something different happens at home. At home, you pee in the bed, right? And so your siblings and your parents are shaming you and humiliating you for that. Or at home, you can't fight, and so they're taking your stuff. Somebody's taking your bike, knocking you off your own bike and riding your bike, right? They're humiliating you, and so the embarrassment and the shame that you feel When we start doing math, it just is tied to all these other instances where you feel embarrassed, shamed, ridiculed, etc. Right? But I, as your teacher, okay, I get it, and I'm going to take the time and the effort to work that out with you so that you can be a high performing student, right? But you're not 7 now. You're 37. You're 42. You're 45. And so those emotional reactions are completely obsolete. You can't carry on like that anymore. This is where your humility has to come in. This is where your transparency has to come in. This is where you've got to say, I don't know what I'm doing. I might know this technique and I might know that technique. I know something about how to do this and how to do that, but I don't really know what I'm doing. I've got to come before you and reveal myself to you and say, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm lost. Help me. And then you got to do what I'm telling you to do. As difficult as it may be, as much as it might trigger in your mind this idea that I'm going to get shamed, I'm going to get embarrassed, I'm going to be, you got to manage that. You have to manage that on your own, within your own mind, within your own heart. Or that's also something that you can come and be even more transparent about and say, I really understand what I'm grappling with. I need you to also help me with that. Okay. But that's what it all boils down to. And the power of our message today um, reinforces how important it is for you to take ownership of it. Ogun gave us a message about all his tools: the rake, the machete, the shovel. Who works these machetes? Who swings the machete? Human beings. Who uses the pestle and the mortar to pound the yam? It's the human beings. Who uses the rake on the ground? It's the human beings. It's not Olodumare. It's not Ogun. It's not Shango. The deities aren't doing that work for you. It's human beings who do the work. So in this instance, though, we talk about the ground that's being raked and the rake and the one using the rake is all you. The bush that we're cutting and the machete that's cutting the bush and the one swinging it is you. You are the one that is sculpting your own self, your own transformation. It is entirely incumbent upon you to acknowledge where you are and what you need, what you have, what you don't have, what your emotional condition is, and then you've got to do that work. It can't be done any other way. There's certain tasks that involved in your evolution that are entirely up to you. Now, this is the hard part of the lesson. If what I said wasn't hard enough, here's the other part that makes it particularly difficult. You've been hustled. You've been hustled. Somebody told you that when you came to get a divination, you were the Queen of Sheba, and all you need are these King, and you just take them and you go do stuff with them, and give me a few $100s every couple of months, and boom, that's going to be enough. And that ain't enough. Somebody told you that you are the owl supreme of the world. And all you need is to put on these beads and call yourself the owl supreme, and you're going to have everything. You're going to have power and authority. You're going to have respect and command. And that is not what's going to happen. It's not what is happening. So when you show up trying to be the Queen of Sheba, you show up trying to be the owl supreme, and you can't do it. Well, the same people in your mind, right? This is the way it looks. They're now going to ridicule you. They're going to shame you. They're going to tell you that's not right. That's not how you do it. That's not how it's conducted. And then what do? You revert back to your 7-year-old self and you have an attitude, which only further worsens your condition. So it's awful. The circumstance that we find ourselves in right now is awful. It is awful. In many ways, it's deplorable. However, however, part of you not having a fit is, trying to find somebody to blame, pointing fingers, name calling, all that is not going to help you. The only thing that's going to help you is that you fully acknowledge what you don't know and what you can't do. And you fully take ownership of doing the actual work that needs to be done to improve and change. Nothing else is gonna suffice. The last thing that I want to say for context, as your college professor, is this: as your college professor, I have authority. I'm in the institution, and I have a course or a series of courses. And in those courses, I got Mexicans, Salvadorians, Filipinos, Koreans, Middle Easterners, white folks, and African Americans. Okay. When I give an assignment, an in class writing assignment, and the Mexican and the Chinese and the Korean and the Filipino and the Arab are able to use the vocabulary that I use. I know they don't know this. I know they only heard this terminology from me. They are able to recall the terminology that I used in class, incorporate the assigned reading, and reference their own cultural practices and how it relates and how it differs. That's what they're doing. Meanwhile, you are if you have made any of those connections, I don't know. Because you're talking about Michael Jackson and bubblegum and sparkles and chocolate cake and anything that you think somehow relates to the subject matter. And you want that to be acceptable. And I'm telling you, on a global scale, if you look at what's happening around the world, what you're doing is maybe a D plus. With some work and some negotiation, little adjustment here and there, it could be a C minus. What I'm saying is not, I'm not saying it to be hurtful. I know it hurts though. It hurts me to say it and I don't want to say it, but it needs to be said. You got to understand that's also where you are. So if you don't, deal with these obsolete emotions and these obsolete reactions, the only person who loses is you. It's the truth. It's the reality. Now, the solution to this is for you to slow your roll. Slow your roll. Stop letting people talk you into stuff that is impossible. Stop believing in any kind of a shortcut. There ain't no shortcuts, y'all. There are no shortcuts. This idea that, oh, spirituality is mine and I can just teach it to myself and I just feel it, and don't believe that. Don't believe that. Don't go for that. This is a profession. This is a discipline. This thing takes decades to learn and master. In Nigeria, man, you're putting in 10, 15 years full time. Awo Rumila, Akapo, you go live with your master for 15 years. And from the time you wake up, you get his shoes, you go and get the herbs, you go to the market, you pick this up, you get the animals, you put this together, you burn this, you grind that, you learn to chant this, you learn to chant that. You are working full time for 15 years to become an adept. How do you think it's possible for you to go and spend 2 weeks and then talk to somebody on WhatsApp every so often, and now you become a master? You know that's not possible. And if you don't know, I'm telling you, it's not possible. Slow down. Stop letting people talk you into stuff that is beyond your capabilities. Okay. If you really want to know, find someone who really wants to teach you. Get trained before you get anything, and you will know what you're really cut out for. You'll be able to, cut your cloth according to your size. All right. So I'm saying this as a very loving, very sincere and authentic message to the leaders who are really interested in improving the world through positive influence. If you're one of those people, find out how Oloye Obafemi Origunwa and the Orisha Lifestyle Academy can help you take your practice, your life, and our community to the highest level possible. Visit me at obafemio.com or orishalifestyle.com. Let's start working together to help you live the medicine that will heal your life and heal the lives of those who you are destined to serve. I look forward to working with you. Bye for now. Oh, no.